So once you've gotten your beads on there, well, sequins, whatever you want to call them, I got buttons. I only put 5 on there because I'm going to do a small girl, and plus I don't want to have the fun of sorting them out later on. So you take all your buttons and push them as far down on your yarn as you can. Down, down, down. Leave the very first one on here, the very first one you did. Keep it separate from the rest because that is going to be for the tie in the back. So once you've done that, you got them all down there, one at a time so they don't tangle or wreck. Take your yarn needle off and just put that to the side. Next up, take your 3.5mm crochet hook and you're going to start at the bottom here. You're going to make a magic circle, and I did 6 at the bottom here. 6 single crochet inside the magic circle. So this is baby yarn I'm using, it's thinner. So do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 single crochet. String it closed and slip stitch into your first single crochet that you've created. Pull through. Now you're going to go around and do 2 double crochet in each stitch around. So if you have 6, then you're going to have 12. So in the same stitch you're in, because that's the first single crochet that you did from the previous round, you're going to single crochet in there twice. So that is 1, and a seam a stitch. And 2. Go to the next stitch and do it again. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. So we're increasing around. 1, 2. So now I have 6 stitches. There's 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11, and 12. Now you can slip stitch to join, but I hate doing that because it leaves like a little trail up. As you can see on this one, there's no trail. So if you're going to slip stitch to join, that would be why you don't see my trail. Little seam mark. So what I do instead of slip stitching is in the very first single crochet that I created in this round, I single crochet in there again to create the new round. So it's 1 and then 2 in the next stitch. 1 in the first stitch, and in the second stitch it's going to be 2, so it's an increase. It's just like making a toque or a sock. Anything in the round, you're always going to increase the same. First round is singles, next round is doubles, 2 in each stitch. Third round is 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And you go around and do that. So once you reach around, there should be 18 stitches because you're working in sixes. 6, 12, 18 comes next. Just give it a little tighten. So now, as you can see, it's big enough for her feet. I don't need to increase anymore because it already fits her feet. So it's, you can actually even go back a row, or sorry, a round, and let's see here. Maybe, maybe not. It would have fit her feet, I think. Now you want to curve it. And the way you curve it is by doing 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Do that for 1 or 2 rows until it starts to flip in or outward. So where you have your tail, this is the inside part. And before you go any further, I suggest you sew on your end. So just go through like this. Grab your end, flip it around. Through there, hide your end, cut your end. Now, doesn't matter where your round begins or ends anymore because you're working in the round. There's no seam, no slip stitching anymore from here on. So we're going to go around in single crochet in every single stitch. And when you're beginning, you don't really want any buttons too close. See, there's 1, 2, 3, or 4 rounds right here without any buttons on there anyways. You do want them throughout, but you want it to be able to still stand and to be able to attach the tail. Don't want to hide it. So I'm going to go around until it rounds, curves over, and I'll meet you back up. Alright, so I've gone around 1.5 times, and now these beads have caught up with me. I call them beads because, well, I'm pretty much using them like a bead, even though it's a button. So I'm going to take one off, and I'm going to put it into my work, and the rest of it I'm going to slide down, which is individually and pain to do. Didn't want to do this again, but someone requested it, so I thought I'd show people how I did it. So you take your bead, button, sequin, whatever you want to use or call it, put it whichever way you want to face outwards. If you want this one's a concave button. If you want it facing this way, facing that way. Here's all that you have to do. Put it in front of your hook. Go into the next stitch and then yarn over like normal. Pull through. This button should stay there. And then pull through your yarn. Do it kind of loosely, because if you do it too tight, you won't be able to get into that stitch for the next round. Go into the next single crochet and single crochet. And go around and around and around, doing that again and again, until you get to the top of this button. Alright, so I've made it around to where my button is. First off, I'm going to turn my work right side out. So we'll make it easier. So this does look like a little toque. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said that toques, socks, hats are all worked in the same pattern. All I'm going to do is single crochet in these stitches behind there. So I got one right here. Oops, daisy. Go to the next one. Pull it through. Now this is the one where the button is. I'm going to go into there pull through like a regular single crochet and go into the next one, and again. And now your work is stuck in the front. It will not go backwards or back into the back of your work. Go around again until you come across another button, or wherever you'd like to place another button, and keep going around in this fashion. Now the only difference is this one had wider legs as it goes, and this one doesn't. This one here is pretty straight-legged. No dimensions to it whatsoever, so you don't have to increase or decrease. It's pretty straightforward. So just keep measuring it up to your dolly. See, it's going to be pretty big around, but if I make it go small, I'm going to have this puff right here, like a bulge. So I'm going to keep the same amount of stitches, and I'm not going to increase or decrease it. And I'm just going to keep adding my buttons until I get to here. So another thing I do is I count how many rows I've done, and I've misplaced my measuring tape. See how much that is. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows right here from here to here, and measure that, and I got, well, there's 4 more rows I have to do, and 8 more rows I have to do, and 12 more rows. So 12 rows later, I will be back to show you what to do. This is all single crochet every stitch around. Alright, so I'm not quite at 12 rows. I've done 1.5. So the problem is the buttons came up to me and it's not at the front half. Again, like I said before, I don't want it on the back because it's going to interfere with her sitting and moving around and doing things. So what I did was I just kind of guesstimated where I want the button between by folding in half, keeping kind of an imaginary line. And if this button doesn't show up between here and there, then I'm not going to do it. So you just got to keep pushing your buttons down until you're ready to add them to your work. And you just keep going around. Alright, so there's 5 beads in there. I think I have 1 more. I thought I had 6. Just not. 5 beads. No mistake. So this is as far as I want to go. I do not want to make it any taller unless I have to. So what I'm going to do here is flatten it, because this is my front and this is my back. No buttons at all. Oops, sorry. Let's get this out of the way. So it looks like a little sleeping bag. Take this dress off of you. Alright, so you can see. Might actually even be a little bit too high. So there's her little mermaid sleeping bag. Now, buttons are in the front. What I'm going to do is, because I don't like this to be just left alone, I'm going to crochet 1 more row on top, and plus it'll help tie in. So what I'm going to do is, I have my button over here. This is my last button, my 5th one, and I'm going to pull it down to where I want it to be, and I'm going to single crochet it in like normal, but this is the end of my round. Chain up 1 and go in the back loop and single crochet there, and single crochet across. So if I had 6, 12, 18 stitches, I want to do half of that, so 9 single crochets across. So the first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain, I'll say between 3 and 6, just big enough to make a loop to cover this up. So there's 1, 2, 3, and I'll fold it in half to gauge it. Now that's not looking big enough. 4, 5, 6. Definitely be big enough. I'm going to slip stitch it in the same stitch that I made my last single crochet in. So pull through there and again. And now I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to work my stitches back. So there should be one less. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And in the same stitch, I'm going to slip stitch in. Pull through. Cut my work. Through. Now I'm going to sew on my end there. Put it on. Do up the button. Make sure you do this before you finish your work. And take the butt end and just put it on top of the, make your own buttonhole. And there's her little sleeping bag. Next up, we're going to do the tail. So this is going to be the start of the tail. For the bigger doll, I did 10 stitches for the tail. For the smaller one, I'm looking at 10 stitches, 10 chains, and it just looks too long. So I'm actually going to half it to 5. So this is top of my head, so the pattern is going to be completely different. Alright, so here's what chain 5 looks like. Much better. From here to here. More proportionate. Now I'm going to add a 6th one, because this is my turning chain, and go back into the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to single crochet across. So you'll have 5 single crochets at the end of your row. Alright, so I reached the end of my row. I'm going to chain up 1, and going into the back loop only, we're going to create the rib stitch and single crochet the next 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then last stitch is hard to see, but it's there at the very end. 5. Now this gives it a little line here, which is, oops, the rib defect right there. So next up, we want to decrease 1. So chain up 1, and going into the back loops only, pull up a loop and go into the next one and pull up a loop. Pull through 3. Now continue on and you should have 4 stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, and this one makes 4. So this is the bottom of the tail where we're decreasing, and this is the top of the tail where we began. So chain up 1, turn around, and in back loop only, single crochet the next 1, 2, and in the third one we're going to decrease. So pull up a loop and pull up a loop in the next one, in the back loops only. Decrease. So now we've decreased 2. Now we're going to increase after this next row. So we're going to chain 1 and go into the back loops. There should only be 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. So this is half of the tail right here, big to small. Now at the top of the tail here, which is right here, I added this section to it after I was done. I'm going to go and chain up 1, go to the back loop, single crochet in the first stitch, in the second stitch, and then in the third stitch, which is all back loops only, I'm going to 2 single crochet to increase. There's 1 and 2. Chain up 1, do the same thing because you're at the bottom of the tail here. Increase, 2 single crochet in that stitch, and then in the next stitch, so there's 2, 3, 4, and you're back to 5. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to create one more row of just single crochet in the back loops just to even it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now here I'm going to cut my yarn. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 rows, because there's one of just back loop only, no increase, no decrease in the middle, so it works out even. Alright, so we're on to the last little bit here, and then we're done. So you take your tail, and where you first began, you should be at the top of the tail, not the bottom, and you want to join your yarn here. Just fold over those strings. Okay, so now that you've rejoined, I'm just going to make a single crochet. And now I'm going to, actually, I'm going to take out that single crochet. I'm going to chain up 3, 2, 3. I count the first one as a chain because it takes up extra room. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to double crochet, decrease to create a drawstring effect. So in the same stitch I'm in, I'm going to double crochet over top of my other yarn ends, and then I'm going to get them out of my way. Well, I bloopered there too. Oops, sorry. Okay. I'm going to double crochet decrease. So in the same stitch I am in, 1 stitch per row. So we had 9 rows previously, so we're going to have 9 stitches to work with. So here is a double crochet, and we're going to go into the next one, yarn over, go through, pull up. Okay, so this is a double crochet decrease, but we're going to go across doing the whole way like this. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, hope a loop, yarn over, go into the next stitch, hope a loop, and just keep going all the way across. So we're just gonna drawstring it across. This is the same way you do baby booties for the top part of the toe. So now we're there, I lost count, and we are actually going to pull it all the way through. So you see how that drawstrings it up. Pull it tight, careful you don't break your yarn, and pull it through and make a slip stitch. Now I only did it like that because this is the smaller one. Normally I would do 2 rows of double crochet decrease. You can see there's a couple rows there. There's 1 and 2 there. So first I decreased it by half, and then I went into the next round or row and I decreased it completely. So after this I'm just going to cut my yarn and attach it after I tie a knot there. So before you attach it to the bottom half there, just go ahead and sew in all your extra ends so they don't get in your way when you're attaching it to the bottom of your little sleeping bag area. Take that off. So this is what I do. Fold it in half like it's supposed to be. Take this, and it's curving in and down. So I'm going to take it, this is the right side, and I'm going to put it down like this. And right where the middle is, I'm going to overlap it slightly. The middle of this tail fin and the middle of this sleeping bag. And I'm going to sew it right to there so it looks close as possible. I didn't do as good a job on this one. And there. So it looks like one solid piece, hopefully. But if not, oh well, they're kids. They can't really tell the difference unless they are the ones doing it themselves. Even goes for adults. Only you are your biggest critic of your mistakes. Not. And sew in your end. Hide your tails. It's funny because it's a tail. Cut there. And see, missed it again. But oh well, kitties like it. So again, you gotta do it up like this if you don't want the bum hanging out. Just make an invisible buttonhole holder. I like it because it looks like a back of a tail fin of some sort. And there you go. And that is how you make a purple crochet mermaid tail fin for Barbie dolls. Thank you for watching. Check me out on Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/Mrs. Lavigne's Creations. Or sorry, I messed that up. Lavigne Creations. Sorry about that. It's in the comments. It's in the comments, folks. Thank you so much for watching.